You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey, GH fans. So the next episode of General Hospital on Monday, March 4th, brings us back Steve Burton as Jason Morgan. Of course, it could be just a glimpse on that episode, kind of like they did us when they showed us Patient 6 back in 2017. Remember that? This is Belinda from Soap Dirt, and I want to discuss some front burner action that could tie to Jason and hints that he might come back with a new attitude, maybe with a chip on his shoulder, an axe to grind, some dramatic things like that. Let's discuss it, but please click subscribe if you haven't already. So the first thing I just want to talk about off the top of my head, did Jason Morgan buy Spoon Island and Wyndemere? Ava just sold Wyndemere to a mystery buyer. She was closing up an envelope with the papers, and she told Nina Reeves this past Monday she just shut down the deal, closed it up, signed off on the papers to sell Spoon Island and the mansion to a mystery buyer. She said she hoped that they tore it down and built condos. Of course, it could be someone else, but it happened a week to the day before we get back Stone Cold. And it could be an interesting base of operations for him. I mean, maybe he bought it to knock it down to a pile of rubble as revenge on the Cassadines, or maybe he's taken over Victor's bunch of mercenaries after the bad guy was blown up by the WSB last year. Of course, it could be another person coming back that bought it, like Alcazar or somebody. It takes a lot of money to buy a place like that, but I just don't see them bringing back Alcazar right now. We just got Jagger Cates a couple weeks ago. Now we've got Jason. I don't think they're going to keep bringing back past characters one on top of the other. They can't afford to, first of all. And the storylines and just the size of the cast are so bloated that it just wouldn't make sense to add yet another person. So the timing alone of the Wyndemere purchase has me scratching my head, and Jason can certainly afford it. He has been raking in mob dollars for decades, and he's also a Quartermain, born with a silver spoon in his mouth, all that stuff. He has the cash to buy Spoon Island and the house on it, no doubt. Is it him? We'll see. The second thing to talk about is Jason taking out mob bosses. As we all know, the guy at the prison told Cyrus Renaud that Stone was the name he heard mentioned with the big boss orchestrating the shootings. Everyone jumped to the conclusion it was Jagger Cates. And because everybody jumped to that conclusion, to me, that says it's wrong. It's just too easy. I don't think it's him. I don't think it's his son. I don't think it's Morgan Corinthos back from the dead right now. Again, they're just not going to bring dead people back one on top of the other. You know, that's a huge ratings waste, and GH needs its ratings. If they're going to bring back dead people, they're going to wait till sweeps and bring back a different one. The shooter might not be Jason, but if it is, I have some ideas of why he might be doing it. First of all, Olivia Jerome was just taken out like the trash that she is. And you know, she unwittingly killed Morgan Corinthos, who was very near and dear to Jason, because Morgan was all messed up because Ava had messed with his meds. He stole the car that she had planted a bomb on, intending to kill her brother, Julian Jerome, but Morgan wound up dead. Anyway, that's definitely a good reason for Jason to want Olivia dead. Then there was the attack, well, before that, the attack at the Metro Court aimed seemingly at Anna and Sonny. Maybe Jason wanted to punish Sonny for stepping away from Carly and taking up with Nina after basically returning and taking Carly from Jason after they'd fallen in love with each other. Also, you know, it was Sonny that introduced brain damaged Jason Quartermain to mob life, changing him from a privileged child to Jason Morgan hitman. There was that attack in Puerto Rico. Maybe that was aimed at Ava and not Sonny. You know, Ava killed Jason's brother, AJ Quartermain, if you think about that. Jason might have targeted the other mobsters that have been killed if he's angry that he was indoctrinated into mob life, or killing them might have been a plan. So it looked like he was targeting all mob bosses when he was really only after the ones he had a personal grudge against. That could also explain the Selena Wu thing. Or, and this would be terribly fun, Jason might be killing off mobsters and taking over their territories, their assets, and their soldiers to make himself an uber mob boss with all kinds of power, maybe planning to rival Sonny. That would be super cool. If you remember, Jason actually took over Sonny's mob group from him for a while and refused to give it back. It was like something was going on with Sonny. Gosh, this has been more than a decade ago. I think he was in some kind of mental health spiral and he needed Jason to take over, and then he wanted it back and Jason wouldn't give it back. That was very interesting. It could be shades of that. So I'm certain once we get the full roster of GH spoilers for the week of March 4th through 8th, hopefully we'll know a little bit more if they're even going to give out those spoilers, but I think they are. We are also due for ABC Daytime to start dropping some big storyline hints about what is going to happen with Jason's return to get all the fans really excited. Right now, nobody knows much about his return. One tidbit that came out, and this is confirmed, is that we will have some BLQ and some Jason Morgan scenes. Amanda Sutton has filmed with Steve Burton. That makes sense because they're cousins, and Evan Hofer, who plays Dex, said he has not had scenes with Steve Burton, but scored a hug from him behind the scenes that he was liking. So that's very cute because Dex is kind of a mini baby Jason. All we know for certain, all anybody knows for certain, is that Monday, March 4th, we've got Steve Burton back as Jason Morgan. And I mean, GH could mess with us. They could give us a glimpse of him on Monday and make us wait a couple of days before we see him again. You know how they did that patient 6 thing? We saw just like his eyes, and then we finally saw the rest of his face because they had him basically in a muzzle. It was several episodes later before he finally spoke, and then it was several more episodes before he was actually back to Port Charles. That was last time. I think it would be refreshing though if they hit the ground running with him, really high drama right out of the bat. That seems optimistic, I know. I imagine it's going to be a couple of weeks before they unveil how he escaped certain death in those tunnels in Greece, find out how he survived, where he's been, if he's been out killing off mobsters. Maybe in these couple of years he's been gone, has he met someone, fell in love, had 8 kids? I'm joking. It's only been 2 years. There are some moving parts we can also see being shifted to make room for Jason in the storyline. For instance, Carly and Drew are heavily at odds. They played nice and hit the sheets this week, but if Drew can't let go of his vendetta against Nina, and we all know he won't be able to, then Carly's not going to stick around to play these reindeer games with him. So she might be single as a Pringle soon. Also, Sonny just ran his right-hand Dex out of town for conspiring with Michael to turn him over to the feds, even though they were trying to get out of it by saying, yeah, but we changed our minds, which Sonny isn't excusing, and he shouldn't. So they've shifted Dex out, maybe to make room for Jason again, if Jason's even interested, if he's not the mob shooter or somehow been brainwashed, even though he's got brain damage. They could have maybe found some kind of technological way to get past that. And yes, I know Steve Burton said Jason's return, quote, isn't what people think. First off, that is very vague. It's not specific. I've seen some people in the comments here saying he said this, and they extrapolate to a whole bunch more than that. He said 4 words. It isn't what people think. 5 words. Second, soap fans have a crap ton of theories. So he doesn't know what people think because a lot of people think a lot of different things. Some of them think Victor somehow managed to brainwash him anyway. Others argue it's not possible and they think he might be the mob shooter. Others think he can't be. And the stone thing isn't about him because it was really only Spinelli who called him stone cold. Others think he's back to steal Carly from his twin brother. I mean, to say it's not what people think actually says nothing at all. And that's exactly what Steve Burton is allowed to say about spoilers. Really nothing at all. He was allowed to give the date of his return. GH isn't going to let him say anything much or give away really any spoilers. He just can't. They always put a gag order on spoilers from the soap actors unless they specifically allow them to say things that they have designated they're allowed to say to promote a storyline. When they do talk shows, things like that, they can get in big trouble, like we will fire you trouble if they leak something that they're not allowed to. The bottom line, we're going to have to wait and see. I'm excited though. I am choosing to be excited and I'm hoping for the best, especially since he did confirm, he was allowed to confirm that the new head writers, Patrick Mulcahy and Elizabeth Korte, penned his return story. And that in itself is great news because the ex-head writers have been letting us down right and left for the past few years. We will update you right here when there's more to talk about, but I'm hoping to see Jason Morgan unpacking his bags at Wyndemere. We'll see. Drop your comments on what you're hoping for Jason. Please click subscribe if you haven't and come back soon. As always, it is Belinda from Soap Dirt.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.